always been focused on building great relationships, trying to become a, quote, trusted advisor, right? And building out strong relations with executives. So it's always been kind of in my DNA. I'm highly visual, highly empathetic, and very committed to keeping commitments. It's the one thing I can control as a salesperson.
Mm-hmm.
So a few years ago, 2002, I went back to after the dot bomb meltdown, and many of my CIO friends were being laid off, and I was wondering, do I want to stay in this field? Where do I want to go? I read a book by Barbara Garrity called Visionary Selling, and it basically said, you really want to understand your client, survey them. So I went back to my alma mater, DePaul University, here in Chicago, to the IT group school, which is the largest IT program in the United States, and became the chief CIO surveyor with Dr. Tom Muscarello, and we did a 5-year study of 100-plus chief information officers. And I added the survey was created by me and 4 CIOs. My addition to the survey was one question. Mr. or Ms. CIO, do you agree to or disagree to the following statement? Do most CIOs do an effective job of communicating, selling, or marketing the value proposition of IT to the board? 98% said they did not about themselves. So they struggled with building relationships with the business. That got me down this path of, okay, how do you build quality relationships? How do you earn trust? And this has been a 7-year, 8-year, 9-year journey for me. And 5 years ago, I got linked in with the Relationship Networking Industry Association, founded by Norm Myers, and we basically, him and I and a group of thought leaders across the world, mostly UK, Canada, United States, developed a process for measuring what we call relationship capital online. It's much easier to do this online, measuring and capturing relationship capital.
Right. Well, that's a fantastic background, and it, leads me right into the first thing I want to think about here is, this concept by large corporations, particularly, that what can't be measured can't be managed. And when we came up with trying to measure trust, people couldn't get their arms around it. And we've been at this for more than 2 years right now with 5 drivers of trust. It's financials, accounting, corporate governance, transparency, and sustainability. You're coming at this from a completely different lens. I find it really interesting. You're talking about relationships and actually measuring relationship standards. So maybe we should start right there and talk about, what do you mean by relationship standards?
Well, again, let's start with the first aspect of how I started down this journey. I believe we've entered the relationship economy, where we're not to say that financial interactions and financial transactions aren't important, but we're all interacting. And look at the growth of social media. All the businesses can be done the next 10 years online. But online is very emotionally unintelligent today. It's getting better. There's going to be high-def videos so you can see body language, a lot of tweeting going around, a lot of interacting. But how do you measure what we call relationship capital? How do you earn trust? Relationship capital is a trust indicator. Basically, what we've done is we've distilled this down. There's 2 sides to this coin. To develop standards, I believe there needs to be a standards body. Like there's a standards body for project management. I believe there needs to be common standards across industries for trust, for what we call relationship capital or relationship networking. So what does that mean? Well, one, before you start scoring your interactions, we score online interactions. This is a voluntary process. It'll probably start in business, but some individuals will probably want to do this to differentiate themselves and their brand. But first of all, I spoke at Harvard, DePaul University, spoke about this in London in December. I ask executives and individuals fundamental questions. Are you honest? Are you accountable? Are you responsible? Are you respectful? Are you supportive? Are you trustworthy? Do you understand emotional boundaries? If you don't understand what that means and how that applies to your interactions, you're going to have a hard time earning relationship capital.
Right.
Behavioral based. So you have to have principles. These are principles that I didn't invent. They've always been time tested, and the top people with top relationship capital who've earned trust over time have always followed these we call the common body of knowledge principles.
Right. And Rob, I couldn't agree with you more, but let me ask you, if you're doing this through a questionnaire and you're asking somebody these questions, don't most people know what the acceptable answer is? And how do you, when you go ahead and you look at large groups of people that report and self-assess themselves, do you really get a wide distribution and people saying, no, tell me about how that plays out.
Well, again, we don't get into people's heads. There's a whole bunch of what we call ecosystem partners that want to provide the training and assessment of people's, what does honesty mean to that individual or that corporation or that brand? What is responsibility, accountability, support, respectfulness? This process, in a nutshell, Jordan, is real people measuring real behavior. It's a peer-to-peer process that people sign up for. Businesses will probably adopt this. It'll start probably in the sales and marketing function. You take it with your salespeople and say, one is the salespeople have to be trusted by their clients and customers. Businesses are being commoditized. Technology is commoditizing. Mm-hmm. So what we've done is, if you follow what we call the relationship capital interaction process, that's a process right now that currently is being built into the cloud, so people can actually bolt on this process for some business gain, or it could be for a nonprofit, whatever. But if I make a commitment to Jordan to show up to your radio program and talk about relationship capital, if you follow this process, you will reward me with a relationship capital point for keeping my commitment.
Right. No, I completely agree with that, and I think what we'll do is we're going to get into how you do this and some of the implications. Clearly, building trust and having trust is going to help not only increase sales but loyalty and everything else. But I go back to that question I asked again. Do you do anything in terms of a 360 where other people evaluate folks, or you're literally asking somebody how are you at keeping commitments? Do you consider yourself trustworthy? Is it all self-assessment?
No. The self-assessment, at least I haven't gotten into that. Like I said, business partners will do the assessing. There's a whole ecosystem of trainers and coaches that want to provide that assessment of the individual or that company process.
Gotcha.
The point I'm making is, people who sign up for this, companies who want to sign up for this to show the world that they're earning top relationship capital, that they're growing, is, again, there's two aspects of relationship capital. We're measuring commitments promised and kept. So if you make a commitment and you keep it, you get relationship capital deposited into an account. You control the account. You can make it private. You can make it public. Mm-hmm. You control the data. Now, the other aspect of being rewarded with a relationship capital is how people perceive you. You'll poll your social network on LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter, 0 to 10. 10, I'm great. 0, you're not being scored by anyone. The system will aggregate the average score and deposit in an account. So you can start tracking how people perceive you, because perception is part of your reputation. Relationship capital is basically validated reputation. If you keep commitments, that's validated reputation. That's powerful than just a perception. But we combine the two: perceptions scored and commitments kept. That's it right now. Other companies want to score other things, but we've distilled it down to those two measures.
Great, Rob. No, I appreciate you clarifying that, because at first I'm thinking, if you're just asking somebody, how trustworthy are you, do you keep commitments, unless there's a way to externally measure that, I think you're not going to get the right responses or maybe the appropriate responses. What we're going to do is we're going to dig a little bit deeper when we get back from a sponsorship break. We're going to talk about relationship capital and how that actually plays into business relationships. And first, before we do go to a break, maybe I'm thinking, Rob, I know not only do you think about this, you do very active consulting. Maybe you want to share some contact information for yourself before we go to break.
Sure. My website is standardoftrust.com, and my LinkedIn, you can find me on LinkedIn, Rob Peters, and I'm pretty easy to be found. And my Twitter account is Standard of Trust.
Standard of Trust. Fantastic. And Rob, what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break. We'll let the sponsors come in. We're going to dig a little bit deeper. I think, again, this is a very important component of trust, relationships, and how they can be maintained, how they can be increased. It probably can only be done through incremental pieces, one at a time, and building trust through actions and through, like you said, commitments. So we'll be right back with Rob Peters, the founder of Standard of Trust, following this quick break.
The Internet's #1 talk station. #1 talk station. VoiceAmerica.com.
Do you want to know what's really going on these days? Well, Capital Thinking takes you inside the worlds of policy, politics, law, and business. What happens in Washington, on Wall Street, and in our nation's legal system impacts your business every day. We're taking you on a behind-the-scenes tour of all of it. Each week, we bring you unfiltered conversation with a variety of influential policymakers, lawyers, and business leaders. I'm Kevin O'Neill, and I'm your host as Capital Thinking tours the halls of power. Join me for Capital Thinking on the Voice America Business Network each Thursday at noon Eastern and 9 a.m. Pacific Time.
It's all about action. Touchdown! Scores.
Taking a look at the NBA tonight.
Highlights.
He's broken loose. He's at the 30.
And headlines.
Big trade in the NFL this afternoon.
When you are looking to talk sports, look no further than the Voice America Sports Network. We bring you some of the biggest names and all the sports news you can handle. Whether it's basketball,
Off the glass.
football,
Come on.
golf, racing, or the Olympics. We've got you covered. We'll even cover tailgating. Tune in to the Voice America Sports Network. It's all things sports.
If you want to get ahead, you have to stand out from the crowd, the clutter, and the competition. Are you? Tune in each week for Standing Out with Lauren Saunier. Lauren and her guests have the secrets that can help you and your business get noticed, get attention, and achieve your desired results no matter where you're starting from. Standing Out with Lauren Saunier, live every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Pacific Time on the Voice America Business Channel. Get ready to be a marketing machine. Listen for MD Radio on the Voice America Variety Channel. That's Muscular Development Radio. Every Monday, your host, Sean Ray, will take you inside the world of bodybuilding and health and fitness. The show will feature Hall of Fame bodybuilders, trainers, judges, and the future champions of tomorrow. Plus, you'll be invited to participate in our call-in Ask the Pros feature. And our Nutritional Spotlight will feature products that can help you achieve your fitness goals. MD Radio is broadcast live Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 Pacific on the Voice America Variety Channel. Talk, talk, talk. That's all we do is talk. If you'd like to talk, call us toll-free right now at 1-866-472-5787. 1-866-472-5787.
That's it.
VoiceAmerica.com.
You are listening to the Trust Across America radio program hosted by Jordan Kimmel. We encourage your participation to this program. Call in during the live show to 1-866-472-5788. That's 1-866-472-5788. You can also direct your emails to Barbara at trustacrossamerica.com. Now, back to Jordan Kimmel.
And welcome back to Trust Across America with me, your host, Jordan Kimmel, and we're talking right now with Rob Peters, and Rob is the founder of Standard of Trust and has really developed something that's very unique. It's relationship standards, measuring relationships. You know, Rob, when you're talking about what you do, I really want you to kind of get right into it. I know, again, this is not something you're thinking about. You are consulting with many organizations. Talk exactly how you go ahead and measure relationship capital.
Well, as I said earlier, I got connected with Norm Myers, and Norm is the founder of the Relationship Networking Industry Association. I talked to him about how do I earn trusted capital with senior executives and people in general in a socially connected world. And he came from a accounting world. He was an auditor for KPMG. Mm-hmm. So basically we're using the accounting metaphor. We don't debit. If you keep a commitment, you get credited on the ledger. Okay. There's an account, a relationship capital account that gets set up. You control your account. I mean, you can make it public. Your score, you can keep it private. But the process is very straightforward. You keep a commitment. You make a commitment. You can go to a portal, go to an iPhone app, make a commitment to an individual, or suite of commitments, and that person can see those commitments, and it's got to be observable. You keep the commitment. That person clicks a button, makes it very easy for them to reward you with the relationship capital. And by the way, the person scoring you gets relationship capital for keeping the system going.
Interesting.
So you also qualitative feedback, because I love numbers. Don't get me wrong. I love making quality of relationships more tangible, but I also believe in the qualitative feedback. Rob did a great job here, or Rob needs to improve here.
Okay.
And so the qualitative feedback is just as important as the tangible measure.
Right. No, I love that. I mean, but one of the things that, again, confused me here, you said you can't, there's only credits, there's no debits. What happens if you don't show up for a commitment?
Well, example, we use a term, there's a heavy vocabulary or data dictionary or dictionary around relationship capital, but there's a level of forgiveness. So say I promise to speak at the Trust Across America radio program and I don't show up. Mm-hmm. Well, you not only give me terrible qualitative feedback on the application in the cloud, on the internet, but also, you don't give me relationship capital. But I'll call you 2 weeks later because, Jordan, I'm sorry I couldn't make it. I was in a car accident. I've been in a coma the last 2 weeks. So It's 1 point for a commitment. So 1 point's not going to kill you. There's going to be people probably disagreeing. We don't take the human factor out of this. But the key is we don't go negative.
Right.
We're not going to go negative. Going negative with relationships, we've vented this idea out for 5 years. Going negative is not going to add value. We're going to only credit you for keeping commitments.
Gotcha. Okay, and well spoken. And let me just share with you too. When we measure, we were willing to say we're going to go all the way to actually try to identify the most trustworthy companies. And we talked about a set of metrics. We worked with trust experts who really came up with 5 drivers of them. One of them was the idea of accountability. And, and again, I want you to talk a little about this because it doesn't sound so complicated. I want you to talk about, the importance of, again, showing up for that commitment, being accountable, and then maybe even why some people don't get it.
Well, I think there's accountability is a lot of reasons why people and institutions aren't accountable. But I've been talking about this for 5 years, so I'll give you my opinion.
Okay.
Why aren't everyone successful based on their standards or other people's standards? Why are people struggling with, and this could be entrepreneurs, could be leaders of banks. The last 2 years we understand the struggle. Is people don't inherently want to be held accountable. They don't trust themselves necessarily. Not that they wouldn't, everyone raises their hand when I give a presentation, says, I want to be scored. How many people do you think actually want to be scored?
Well,
not many.
Question.
Not because this is leadership. Leaders get accountability, and leaders want to be held accountable and be public. I want my score to be public, Jordan.
Gotcha.
Not everyone wants. This could be the left-brain shy person may just want to put their toe in the water and kind of keep this private and see how they do before they make this public. Because I believe that relationship capital is an indicator of success, and it always has been, but now it's going to be much more tangible in this interconnected world. And this will be the people with high relationship capital, high influence, high reputation. They're going to get the opportunities. They're going to get the gifts. They're going to get the free iPads to try out with this software. I mean, I think this is key in the interconnected world.
Right. Rob, we couldn't agree with you more. And you said something, too, that is actually very, very heavy to me, very poignant in that not everybody is trustworthy. Not everyone is a leader. Not everybody is accountable. And our whole point of view, what Trust America is all about, is saying there is a bell curve out there. There's a whole lot of average out there. Unfortunately, it's the underperformers, the untrustworthy, the folks who break down trust that get all the media. What we're simply saying is that there are folks on the right end of the bell curve that are doing it right, that understand accountability, and our mission is to really help them get more exposure, help them share their best practices, so people could realize not all out there is negative, but your point is really well taken, that not everybody is going to score right, not everyone's going to make commitments, and not everyone, frankly, wants to even be measured.
And that's what gets me excited every day to get this adopted by businesses and individuals, is because I think the people who don't get it will eventually be forced to adopt it, whether it's my particular process or some other trusted relationship capital score, because they'll have to. Because to be a salesperson in the future, someone's going to ask you, what's your relationship capital score? Do you keep commitments, or people perceive you highly? I think it's going to be an indicator of success. Or if I'm an accountant, or I'm a doctor, or I'm a financial advisor. I think, it's not what you say about yourself, it's what other people say, and it's about your behavior. And this will be more tangible, and I think everyone wins. I tell this all the time, billions of transactions are done on credit cards, but 98% of Americans don't understand their FICO score. Well, people are going to understand their relationship capital score. It's what they do with it, how they manage it. And that's it. And this will evolve. This will be a standard, and we're always looking for ideas to make it better.
Well, Rob, let me say, I think that you're not only on an important path, but you're going about it right. You're looking for input. You're looking to get it better. You're looking to constantly improve it. And again, I think you're 100% right that the folks that do get your message and do have a high RC, relationship capital score, will ultimately do more business. They'll be more successful, and everyone hopefully will learn from them. What I'd like you to do, Rob, we have a couple minutes left. If you could, once again, share your contact information, and let me open it up for a closing comment for you.
Sure. My contact information, you can reach me on LinkedIn, and you can look under Standard of Trust or my name, Rob Peters. You can Google me. I'm pretty high up on Google searches, Rob Peters, or just Standard of Trust on my Twitter account. Please, I'm always trying to build up and get awareness on Twitter, so follow me on Twitter at Standard of Trust, and I'll make the commitment. Anyone reach out to me, I'm more than happy to share, our IP. This is a very open standard, and again, it's got to be trusted, it's got to be adopted, and we're looking for opportunities to work in the business community. I'm working with 16 companies at various stages who are adopting this to differentiate their brand, their service, and also to use it with their customers. So I'm very intrigued by where this is going right now.
Right. Well, fantastic. We really appreciate you joining us. And let me just take a couple minutes to kind of wrap things up. I think it was a great segment here. I think that what Rob is doing here is on maybe a personal level, and then extending it even to the corporate level. The more people with a high RC score, the better your corporation is going to be, the more trustworthy it's going to be. What we've been doing in the last month itself is actually beginning now to formally release the results of the data of 2 years of work with some of the great trust consultants out there who've helped us define trust in terms of a model called FACTS, which is FACTS, financially strong, accountability, corporate governance, transparency, and sustainability. And our whole mission is to highlight the best ones, not to highlight whoever scores out low. That's what the rest of the media is about. I think if we can show the great companies out there, and we've done it right now on trustacrossamerica.com, we are releasing through the media the top 3 in each state, the top 3 in each sector, and one of the things we're looking forward to doing is using groups like what Rob is doing at Standard of Trust to actually go down to the individual level, maybe measure nonprofits, private companies. The first thing we knew to do was to be independent, unbiased, and absolutely quantitative. We know we can get public data and help build the concept of what is trust, what is trustworthy. So many people are afraid to use the word. Maybe like Rob said, people are afraid to be measured. They don't want their score to be public. Maybe they're not confident with what the score is. But clearly, as the discussion of trust builds and people are out there to see who are the most trustworthy, the rest of business either has to follow or get out of the way. Clearly, the most trustworthy companies earn business. This is what Trust America is all about. We've been getting wonderful support from great organizations. This is just the start, and like Rob said, too, we're not preaching from the mountain. We want anyone who can help us measure trust, promote trust, and get a more trustworthy business society together. We welcome everyone's input, everyone's ideas, because that's, in fact, how you get better and better. This show is just a part of it. The trustacrossamerica.com is our website. I think that clearly, I was on Fox yesterday talking about trustworthy businesses. There's a new notion that in order for business to really recover and business to really pick up, it's got to be done by the ones who are leading in trust. Thanks so much for joining us. Thanks to Voice America Variety for the show, the engineering. Everyone have a great week ahead. Come to Trust Across America. Let us know what you're thinking. Look at the most trustworthy companies and let us know what you're thinking. We'll see you next week right here on Trust Across America. Have a wonderful week ahead. We'll see you then. Bye now.
We hope you found some inspiration in what today's companies are doing to get it right. Please join Jordan Kimmel for another edition of Trust Across America next Wednesday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time, 12 noon Eastern Time on the Voice America Variety Channel. Have a great week.